Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn Alum.
Welcome back, Hilltopper Nation. It's a new year. We're embarking on a new football season, and this is the first broadcast of the year as the Hilltoppers prepare to open up Thursday night at Walsh University. As always, I'm joined by head football coach Roger Waialae. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to be back.
It's fun to be back, and you know I'm going to throw a lot of crazy questions at you today, so just prepare and stay calm, cool, and collected.
Normally I have an answer unless it's about Star Wars. High sci-fi movies, I don't watch it.
I got you on the Halloween special last year, but it's an exciting time. We all love football. We're here at beautiful West Family Stadium with the football field in the background. So, Coach, let's start with summertime. How's the golf game?
Not very good. Been struggling lately, but, you know, you'll go through that. But I didn't have a very good summer playing, but had a lot of fun.
Well, now that Jason Kegler's moved on to take a new position, you might be the best golfer here. Yeah. One more golf question, then we'll get into football. Who's the best golfer in the world right now?
Right now, obviously, it's Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I would.
At a high level, you know. But golf they got so many great players nowadays, and you know, anybody gets hot with the putter, that's who's going to win tournaments. You know, look at Scotty Scheffler. Struggling a little bit putting, but still manages to finish in the top 10 all the time. But for them, it comes down to whoever has a hot putter.
Yeah, it's my daughter Tessa and I, that's what we do on the weekends. We watch golf together, and she knows nothing about golf, and I don't know much more, but that's become a passion of ours. So let's talk football. We start the season here Thursday. How did camp go?
Camp went well. You know, it's actually went a little bit better than in the past, meaning, you know, a lot of times you judge camp off of discipline, being on time. We had nobody late for practice for the first time in 20-something years. Nobody slept in. So you got to look at the positive things. There are more positives than negatives. And, you know, we're slowly becoming a team. You know, we had some issues and couldn't do a lot of the team bonding stuff that we normally do. But hopefully that's the biggest thing, is becoming a team. And, you know, slowly each day we get better and better at that.
Did the weather cooperate?
We lost 2 practices where we had to go inside and walk through just because of lightning. And, you know, I'm not going to take any chances with any of these kids. And, you know, fortunately now we got apps. Before, when I first started coaching, you just judged it by what you saw. But now they have everything, all the technology in the world that tells you how close it is. So, no, we lost 2 practices. We had to go inside. Normally in that scenario, we would try to reschedule for later in the evening, but there was no opportunity that looked like in the future forecast.
Yeah, it's funny. Your sport probably more than any other victim of weather when you start camp. I think we did avoid the extreme temps that we may have had for more extended periods of time.
Yeah, we got close a couple of days where, you know, we have protocols in place that if it gets over a certain heat index, that we have practice plans that we practice half the team for 15 minutes and the other half for the next 15 minutes and go back and forth on that. But we got close one day. But other than that, we got everyone in and didn't have to manage it too much.
And for the viewers out there, we do have weather apps that dictate.
Right.
And we have strict institutional, conference, national protocols that when there's lightning in the area, it'll tell you exactly where it's at, how close, and it immediately shuts down the activities, and a period of time must go by before you're released to go back out. So that's why if you're watching games on TV or you're at the game and they say play has been suspended, that's not guesswork. That's pretty much based on the apps, correct?
Right. You look at one of the first college football games in week 0, University of Hawaii and Vanderbilt. We're supposed to start at 7:30, then kick off to 9:10. So, with the game not being started, them not being the warm-up, it added a little bit extra to it because the rule is a half hour after the last strike. But they didn't get a chance to warm up, so they had to extend it for an hour.
Any new additions to the coaching staff or any position changes, anything you want to share with us?
Well, defensively, we're intact. Everybody's in the same place. Offensively, we hired Dakota Conwell as a quarterback coach. Greg McGee did a great job for us, moved on to Howard University. And then our graduate assistant obviously graduated and got a job at Notre Dame College. So we added Drew Allen. Drew Allen will coach the running backs. Dakota coaches the quarterbacks. I've moved to tight ends, so that's really the only change. Everybody else is still intact where they were.
And for the Hilltopper fans, Dakota, outstanding quarterback here. Do you remember his years?
No, it had to have been 16, 17, somewhere in that time frame. He played with Anton Damonarosa and them, so I think it was in that time frame there.
Dual threat quarterback, tough kid, and hopefully he's a welcome addition to the staff. Let's talk a little bit about the squad. I always ask you this off the record. I did this last week, but now you're on the record. Give me a position strength.
Well, right now, I'd have to say wide receivers, and really the mass numbers and the number of plays they're making, and look at it twofold because, okay, are we bad at secondary? No, we're not bad in the secondary, but we got kids making plays at the wide receiver position.
Let's change the question. I don't want to say a position we're concerned about because of lack of talent. We're not going in that direction, but any position that injuries affected or maybe there's some question marks going in.
Well, I mean, on both sides of the line, we have really good recruits that have come in. We have really good returning players, but, sometimes the new kids aren't ready the first game, second game, and by the third or fourth game. So we can't afford any injuries on the line early. That's going to affect us immensely on both sides of the ball because we do return some experience, although we graduated 4 starters on the offensive line. Well, you got Luis Martinez that started 6 games as a true freshman. You got Creech that started every game since he's been here. He's in his senior year. You got Cody Vokes that has been in and out of the lineup for 5 years. You got Elijah Mike. They got extensive playing time. So we do return Curtis Hayes, redshirted last year. So we do have experience on the offensive front. Then you look at the defensive front. Cam Rice was the defensive player of the year. John Brown is the glue that holds them together, I'd say. And then, Delano Marcellus had a good year last year. So just mixing it in, and hopefully we can stay healthy enough to get everybody up to college football speed, so to say.
Let's talk special teams. Do we have, has someone won the job place kicking and punting?
Well, punting, Matt Curry will do the punting. And then on the place kicking side, it's a tough battle between Waddell and Kaplan. They've battled it out, and even last night, after practice, I don't know who's going to kick. It's probably going to be a game-time decision. Obviously, Kaplan has all the experience in the world, but Waddell has improved immensely and has given him a run for his money. And, kicking is one of those things where, I'll tell you this, if it's a longer field goal, I'd go with Kaplan. The short stuff, I don't know right now. It's been too close to call. I'll discuss it with the coaches, and we'll go from there. But right now it's too close to call. And the biggest position that coaches lose sleep over is long snap.
That was my next question. So
we have actually 4 kids that can long snap very well. And so you're going to look at Bratton, a true freshman from Wheeling Central, will do the punting, and then a true freshman, Fraley, will do the short snapping to start off. But Creech can snap. I mean, there's a number of kids that can snap.
Well, I remember that one year we went through about 8 of them with injuries. So.
They kept getting hurt. So. Now, for the last 2 years, we've recruited kids that just long snap. Brian can do everything, but right now we have him focusing on punting, and so he snaps the ball well.
Holder?
Ben Turner will hold again, as he did last year. Gives you an added dimension if there's a bad snap. I know a couple times last year that he bobbled a snap, and we had one snap that was off, and he was able to convert them into 2 points. And that's big to have somebody that's athletic back there that can do things.
Agreed. Well, there's a reason that I'm talking special teams, and we'll get to that later in the broadcast. Last question before we go to break. Give me somebody on your special teams that's an intangible. They're not the snapper, the punter, the kicker, but is going to make a difference on special teams.
Marshall Whipke. He's earned scholarship money here just by what he's done on special teams. Haven't spent a whole lot of time at the nickel position, just here in certain situations, but he's on every special team, and he makes plays, he makes tackles, he makes blocks, so he does a really, really good job there.
All right, well, that wraps up the first segment here on Inside Hilltopper Athletics Football Edition. We'll be back shortly to talk about this week's opponent.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Roger Waialae. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn Alum.
Welcome back, Hilltopper Nation. Second segment here on our first football podcast of the year, joined by head coach Roger Waialae. Before we talk this week's opponent, I do want to tell our faithful out there, one of our longtime, very successful alums, benefactors, great person, Charlie Annette, passed this summer. Where we're currently filming from, which this is the VIP area of West Family Stadium, is named after Charlie. And at the first game this year, we are going to do a brief moment of silence and maybe read a little copy about what he meant to the institution. So again, with our most sincere appreciation for Charlie, and hopefully he rests in peace. So let's get back to football here. Coach Walsh, what do we know about him?
Not much. We know schematically, hopefully we know schematically what they're going to do, but personnel-wise, they had a big turnover. I think I got a report last week. They had 21 kids transfer out. They had 5 kids transfer in. They have a transfer quarterback, and I imagine they're going to change the style of offense they play and go to more RPOs and try to get the quarterback more involved in the running game. Taller kids, 6'3", probably about 215 pounds that can run. So, number one thing is you need to stop their best threat. Defensively, they do return their 2 inside backers, starting corners, and the 3 guys up front that play for them have played. But, this goes back to before I was the head coach. We've traditionally played Walsh. And it's been a pretty good rivalry and pretty back and forth and evenly matched. But, football comes down to 3 basic things: taking care of the football, creating turnovers, and making plays.
Okay, and that was going to kind of be my question, but let's get away from the coach speak because we normally talk about that. What do we need to do well to be successful on Thursday night?
We need to score points. If your strength lies in your receivers, our receivers need to make plays. And that's where because it's going to open up the running game. And, I've always tried to force the run. And most teams try to set up the run game, set up the pass game through the run game. We're going to be a little bit opposite. We're going to try to get the box we want by throwing the football.
Are you comfortable, and by no means do you need to answer this question, do we have a starting quarterback for Thursday?
Yeah, I think Rudy's earned the right to start again. He's made a lot of plays. We just got to minimize his bad plays. And when I say minimize his bad plays, basically when you play the quarterback position, it comes down to turnovers. And You said I jinxed myself last year, so I wasn't going to bring that up, and then you made me talk about it. So.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make you talk about it. But
the other kid, I mean, not far. I'm not afraid to play. Right now, three of them, and any one of the three between Keikoa Tarangan and Alex Dunleavy, they've all done a great job and pushed Rudy to make him better. And then we got three really good freshmen that are going to be good. That one's dynamic running the ball, the other one can sling it all over the field, the other one has a big arm. So the quarterback room is really good, but because of the style system, and we put a lot of decision making onto the quarterback. The quarterback's not a game manager, so to say, in our system. Sometimes new to the game, it takes you a while to pick up on what we're doing.
Yeah, and remember kind of our theme in these podcasts, and I try to stay consistent even on the basketball side. I don't like to talk about individuals a lot. This is more about our program and the games and the results, because we all have a tendency at any level of media, you just focus on individuals, and we don't win games as individuals. Just maybe one more question. Starting tailback.
Well, the kid we thought was going to start at tailback broke his foot doing a cut drill. So we'll probably start off a first game by committee, but it's not like, when we lost Quincy that one year, the day, 2 days before the first game, we were kind of not very strong there, right? Right. Dylan Asbury has thoughts. Kane Smith's a junior college transfer. Kadeem Richards played wide out for us last year. We transitioned to running back. And then, probably for me, the biggest surprise at camp has been Hubbard Bass from Weirton, true freshman, has had some great runs during practice. Needs to get better when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, but he's probably run the ball as well as anybody.
Well, good. Well, let's shift gears here briefly. One major rule change in college football: they do not stop the clock after first downs.
And
to move the change. And incompletion. So what do you think is that going to have an impact on what a Division II fan watching a game, what impact does that have?
Well, the games obviously are going to be a lot slower. I mean, a lot faster, meaning, before I think last year, what games averaged 2 hours and 47 minutes, I think they're going to get down to about 2:15, 2:20, somewhere in there, because basically that first quarter, the first 28 minutes of the game is a running clock. It's going to just stop immediate timeouts, change the possessions, and, after a score. So if you look at that, if you got a team that's going back and forth or a long drive, and we practiced the timing rules in the spring when I heard they might go through, and our first quarter lasted 17 minutes.
Wow.
And so, on that blind, we didn't take media timeouts. We stopped the clock on change of possessions, that stuff, but we didn't take the media timeouts that are built into our games. So, but it was 17 minutes.
Now, does this affect you strategy-wise at all as a football coach?
Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen because of this is a lot of teams, if they get up a couple scores, they'll probably get into 4-minute offense a lot earlier than usual, just because the clock's continuing to run. If you look at it, you run 3 plays and you keep on the ball on the ground, you're looking at taking 4.5 minutes off the clock, 5 minutes. That's a lot of time.
We just talked about offense. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. Again, I don't want to get into too many individuals, but who has stood out in camp and is going to make an impact?
Well, secondary-wise, Demas is, at corner, and then we got to hope that our safeties, and we're starting a true freshman at corner because he earned a job, Brendan Bailey, which comes from a great high school football program. But, we got to rely on our guys up front and the linebacking crew to stop the run. And the biggest key for our defense is to get off the field on third down. There was too many times where we got offenses in bad situations, 3rd and long, and we didn't get off the field. So we have to get off the field on 3rd and long situations. And we were better at 3rd and medium, 3rd and short than we were 3rd and long last year. So we have to get that corrected. And through 9 weeks, we're leading the country in takeaways, and then we ended up barely in the top 10. So we got to continue to take the ball away and provide the offense with scoring opportunities.
give us one big play person on defense.
Oh, a big play we got to get big plays out of Chris Wilson as free safety. He has to make plays this year and really not give up big plays, but just making plays, roaming the back there as a free safety. He has to be able, if we're blitzing, to play man-to-man and not give it up. And he's had opportunities and just a little bit hesitant. He needs to transition what he does in practice into games.
All right, well, we'll talk a little bit more about defense next week, but let's go get them this week. Right. We normally only do the 2 segments. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I have a special guest for us.
Fire alarm activation, either Wagner building.
It was a space heater that had caught on fire, and it was really a major smoke event. We immediately called Panhandle, and they were on the scene rather quickly and got their air cleaning machines, smoke eating machines. They cleaned our ductwork inside and out, painted the walls, shampooed the carpets, cleaned every flat surface in the office, vacuumed, and got us up and running really quickly. Panhandle did a great job.
Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn Alum.
Welcome back to a special segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. We talked about special teams with Coach Waialae, and those are unsung roles. A lot of times people, they're not going to lead the articles because they're not going to score a bunch of touchdowns or throw for this many yards, but you are someone that has been instrumental in Hilltopper Athletics going all the way back when we hired you and we launched a television station, and you are a person that I can personally say we would have never been able to pull off any of this without you. So first of all, on behalf of the University Athletic Department, I want to say thank you, because you're one of these unsung roles that not everyone knows what you're doing for us. So let's talk about your role. When we hired you and we embarked on what was then TV 14, what were you doing then?
Well, I was at WTOV 9 in Steubenville for 10 years as a director, and then the position came open here at West Liberty, and I was like, oh, that sounds like something I'd really love to do. So they hired me to put together a production crew to go out and do football and basketball and live events. So I think it was my second week here, $60,000 worth of equipment showed up in boxes, and they said, put it together, go do it. So the first year we got off to a slow start. I started in 2006, and we weren't able to do a full football game that season because I had to train the students. So our first live broadcast was basketball. And then from 2007 on, we've been doing every football game. And the student production crew is really what makes it. These are our students that are in not only our communications majors, we have majors who are zoology majors, business majors, and they're just interested in doing sports. And if it weren't for the students running the cameras and doing the graphics and the replays and sideline reporting sometimes, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, it's been just an incredible run, and fortunately I got to be part of that because I worked as an analyst in football going all the way back. Didn't get to do a lot of basketball then because I was still coaching, but now I get to do the basketball. And you're right, working with those talented students and the dedication, and we used to go on the road for every football game. And if you've just joined us, we're joined now by Teresa Gretchen. Tell us how that's changed. How has it changed from 2006 to where we're at now?
Well, you mentioned doing away games. Now the MEC conference requires that every university in the conference live stream their games. So there's no need for us to travel anymore unless maybe something happens and somebody's equipment is down, we might go and help out. So that's been a big change. The students used to enjoy going out of their home field and learning about a different field. But with that change, we were able to add more sports. So volleyball and wrestling, and we do some soccer and baseball and softball when we can. So that opened up that avenue for us. And streaming was the biggest thing. Streaming, back when we started, we were just live on television the first few years on our Channel 14. Then streaming started to come around. So we figured out a way to live stream our games. And now everybody's live streaming.
Yeah, it provides a more inclusive experience for a lot of these parents, because the reality is some kids come from distance, and I'm glad that you brought up this originated. We were pretty much doing football and basketball, but now we stream literally every sport that we can. Now, we probably don't do golf and tennis because that's a problematic sport to do, but where I think a difference, and you can speak to this, is with the streaming and TriCasters, and you can even use your phone now to stream. It's led to the podcast world, which just look how many podcasts we do in a year.
Right, and we're actually using my phone to record this podcast right now. But yeah, the streaming has made it so the equipment, we have our big TV truck, but we can also do a full broadcast with a computer and a few cameras. And that technology, that's the other thing, staying up on technology and utilizing it. When I think during football season, we have a day where we have a football game and we start basketball. So we have two systems that will be running that day, and technology and streaming has made that possible.
Yeah, I think the last game of the season, I think we have home football and doubleheader basketball all in one day, so we'll have to make it through that. But wow, what a ride, and it's time flies so quickly.
Yeah.
But as I
adding it up, and I the other day I was like, oh my goodness, this is my 16th year doing this, and you, I have to give you accolades, because you've been with WLTV, Topper Station, the student production crew since the very beginning, and we appreciate you and everything that you do. You're always there to help in any way, even if it's behind the scenes. So,
well, I can remember when we were at Concord, and it was an unseasonably hot day, 90 degrees, and you made me run to Princeton and buy fans because the kids were baking in the van where the camera, where the computers were set up. So, yeah, it's just been a great run, and I've been blessed to be part of it. And you're one of the best in the country. A lot of times we talk about this kid's one of the best basketball players, or this coach is one of the best coaches. But if they would give out rewards for what you do, you would definitely be in that conversation. And I liked pulling this surprise on you. I told my wife I was going to do this morning, and she said, well, don't you think you should call her and tell her you're going to do this? And I said, no, she has no qualms on surprising us when we do these things. So we're going to throw you to the wolves. But as always, you perform marvelously. And again, we just want to say thank you for everything you do. And hopefully you'll be part of this for many more years to come.
thank you.
Well, that wraps up this week's edition. Good luck to our football team on Thursday night. We have other sports starting here in the next couple weeks, and we'll try to keep everyone informed of the happenings, and we'll see you next week at this time. Right now, I'm Lynn Coach signing off. Go Hilltoppers.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Roger Waialae. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.